Go ahead.
Thank you for coming back to another um, stream for One Spirit. They fear one us. Here we are discussing all things regarding our people and the betterment of our people. We are going to be entertained. Definitely, we're going to learn some things too. We're going to talk about a recap from 2023, the lessons that we've learned from some of even the shenanigans that we've been listening to and privy to on these YouTube spaces, from politics, entertainment, sports, the beef sector, all types, mental health, anything and everything. We welcome it. We want to make sure that everyone is respectful of each other's perspectives. That's the only thing that's really required over here is that we show each other respect, and it's okay to agree to disagree. So I have Dee uh, S on with me. He was one of the first people that actually came on my first live. So, and I'll share with you all, like I shared with him earlier. Um, there's not too many people on these YouTube spaces that kept it genuine, good, bad, and indifferent, and we could agree to disagree on some things and agree on some things as well. So it's really cool to bring in 2024 with that type of energy. So we're going to start with one of the most recent blogs that I uh, presented to you all, and it's really regarding the civil unrest that is taking place in the Middle East. But before we get into that, I do want to, before I forget, because this is important about one of the lessons that I've learned kind of observing the different spaces with how people were able to infiltrate our community, our melanated community, and some of us even praised them for actually coming into our community and trying to tell us how we're to relate to one another. I'm hoping that we've learned from that, and I'm hoping that we can really search within ourselves with 2024 coming in, where a few people who were demonetized, they initially had a great purpose, if you will, and sometimes the money part of it kind of clouded it, and they had to be, in a sense, have a consequence, if you will. Take some of the lessons, though, that they did present to us and be able to apply it to make us a better self so that we can collectively, uh, go forward. So, and I'm mentioning one in particular of this pearly things. And Dee Dee, we've talked about that, and I'm just going to share a little something about her, and you can, definitely chime in, and we're going to get into the Hamas and Israel because I want us to understand how, as far as I'm concerned, it's not our battle. However, there are similarities as to the struggle, right? So let me get into the pearly things before I forget, um, and get really into some stuff that, again, can really affect us as well. With her, what really concerned me was the fact that a lot of my melanated brothers, some of them were when they talked about certain topics, were so on point and so insightful that it amazed me how they hyped this respectfully this pale faced, inexperienced, young Caucasian female who had minimal experience with relational types of dynamics, and yet you put her as like above some of the very melanated sisters that held some of y'all's talking points down, even to the detriment of being kind of shunned with other melanated sisters in these YouTube spaces. You disregarded them and put her above them. And that to me was kind of a aha moment with that. And I'm hoping that we shouldn't have taken the demonetization of her channel for those things to happen and for her to not have as much of an influence. I'm hoping though that that should be a lesson learned, that with all that energy you put into her, maybe having a fourth or half of that energy with some of these women that look like you that really held you down when sometimes it was questionable should also have that same type of loyalty, if you will. So, Didi, I land the plane and give it to you.
Hey there, Miss Keyshawn. It's really good to talk to you again. It's great being here. Yes, it is 2024. It's going to be a new year, and hopefully there are a lot of lessons that were learned throughout the past year. And I would definitely agree with you that JPT, known as just pearly things, should be a lesson, you know, uh, for these brothers out here that listen, we can't um look to the dominant society and look to outside of our race for solutions to our problems. Black people, black men and black women have a unique set of circumstances. Our relationships and everything about us, the way we operate out here in society is unique. The way we're treated is unique, is different. And even in these relationships, the way we interact with one another, you know, is unique and special. And to try to prop a white woman, to shame black women into quote unquote acting right, to try to shame black women into doing the things that certain particular brothers are asking for with these black women is a slap in the face. So I never agreed with the whole JPT endorsement. But like I said on numerous occasions, is that I don't want to, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I, you know, we don't have to necessarily agree on everything here in the black manosphere. It's not necessary to agree, and there's a section of brothers out there that feel as though if you don't agree with everything that some of the leadership is doing in the black manosphere, then you're not a part of the black manosphere. And see, that's not how we roll out here. We have plenty of disagreements on numerous topics and ideas. And JPT is one of them. From the very beginning, I knew this was a bad idea. And I expressed that that was not a good idea for black men to be endorsing a white woman, you know, over black women who are actually speaking up for black men. Like, that's very unfortunate. So, one of the lessons that can be learned here is that we have to be very cautious about who we are letting in to the community. You know what I mean? Like, that's very, very, very important. You know, we have to understand that we are black first. We are still black first out here. You know, there are a lot of lessons learned throughout this year. Think about Jonathan Majors. Think about this successful brother, this up and coming black man out here that, went to Yale, an Ivy League school, for acting, and found out the hard way that you're still a black man out here. It doesn't matter what your preferences are. You know, you're still a black man susceptible to the same laws, the same racist ideologies and things of that nature as any other black man out here. You can't forget that. So like that's a very, very important point there, Keyshawn. Like I just wanted just to bring that out for the brothers to understand that you're still black. There's a section of the manosphere that has this ideology that racism is over. No, it's not. Racism is not over. It's gotten better, but it's not over. You know, we are still struggling to this day, you know, because there's an agenda out here to try to feminize these men. They have men dressing up in dresses, have men, acting as women, want men to think like women and things of that nature. Think about all of the chemicals and things of that nature that they're putting in the foods to, lower the testosterone and, saying try to take the manhood out of these men. There's an agenda out here against these brothers, against black men, manosphere or not. You know what I'm saying? Like it just is what it is. So great point there, sister. We got to keep it authentic out here. It's very important that we keep it authentic and true to what we're trying to do out here as black men. Here in the black manosphere, we're trying to uplift these brothers, trying to get them to get their weight up, go into the STEM fields, the areas where there is a lot of money being made, the areas where you can succeed and make a decent living and provide for your family and be a man. And be a man. So that's really what we're promoting out here in the black manosphere, and we need to get back. We have to get back to the core principles that we hold on to. That's also very important. Accountability, freedom of speech. And when we're talking about freedom of speech, we're talking about the ability of these brothers to have an area of space for men to converse and, come up with topics of discussion so that the content creators can formulate the arguments for the audience. That's very, very important. So yeah, Miss Keyshawn, that was a great point. JPT falling by the wayside last year, 2023. And I'm thinking about Cynthia G, sister. Like, what do you think about Miss Cynthia G? She's been out here spewing a lot of toxic rhetoric against these brothers out here for years on end, and I'm saying trying to switch up the narratives at times. But I think a lot of the toxic rhetoric right now is not being tolerated anymore. Like, they're actually taking some steps to try to, get rid of that. And I think it's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. But what you think about Miss Cynthia, Miss Keyshawn?
Just like with other content creators, there are positive talking points and there are questionable talking points. It's really about doing your own research, them, being able to share some different perspectives, not having them be the be all, the say all. It's again, we have to use our own spiritual discernment, even in the YouTube space, that we can do our own research and not rely on others, just like we would do in our day to day personal lives, right? So, with that being said, with her, again, the demonetization, I'm hoping that if she chooses to come back out or if she has, that some of the talking points that were very strength based and strength focused, she will be able to use those as foundations to build off of because she already has a good following. So I'm hoping that that is what will, become of her and she and her platform in 2024. So I guess there, and let me say it like this, like again, the way that the YouTube space is created, everyone has freedom of speech. There are some things that I don't agree with certain content creators, and other times they are right on point. It's really about the individual for us, about us also being accountable for the content that we also allow to be inputted in or come into us as well, Dee. So we also have to have a responsibility as well with that. We also have to look at not just what they say, but what they do, right? And if that also aligns with what we know to be the case with them personally or whatever the case may be. I do not agree with the doxing thing, and I'm glad that we're talking about uh, just different, content creators that unfortunately, they or fortunately, however it is, there was a demonetization that took place, and maybe for Sinji because she is in our melanated community, and whether people want to acknowledge it or not, she does have a following that she can utilize this opportunity again with some of those strengths, as in for women, you have to learn how to vet. It's not about the color, it is about the fact that the character of that man, or if he's a provider, or if he's an active parent, those are the types of qualities that I'm hoping that someone with the influence that she has will, bring forward in 2024, because that, it seems like, is what especially the younger generation of young women, they are seeking. So I'm hoping that that whole "from much is given, much is required" will apply on this, and then she'll be able to, catapult even farther than what she had done in 2023 before the demonetization.
Yeah, great point, sister. And then, going back to the lessons of 2023 and what we've seen, like there's a shift in what YouTube and Google is tolerating out here as far as certain types of rhetoric. Now, with Cynthia G, now I'm not sure if you're aware what had happened to her, but it wasn't black men who got her channel demonetized. It wasn't black men. It turned out to be a white woman. And this goes back to the arguments that we have made here in the black manosphere, is that black men do not stand in the way of black women. Anything that they want to do, we don't stand in their way. You know what I mean? It's not been at the feet of black men why what happened to Cynthia happened. It was the result of the actions of a white woman. So there's a lot of anger and vitriol put towards these black men out here as to what happened to her, but it's unfair and unwarranted because it turns out it wasn't even us. It wasn't even us.
Well, this is what
But
I would push back. I would push back to say to the real black men that are out there, and I hope they hear what I'm about to say to them. And I'm not, it's going to sound like I'm making a funny, and I'm really not. If it don't apply, let it fly. You all have bigger fish to fry. And I'm not trying to freestyle. I know it sounded like I was, but I'm not. If it does not apply, let it fly, because people are going to think, they're going to say what they're going to say, regardless if it's just the truth or not. We're learning that in this YouTube space as well. The leaders that I'm hearing you all are saying that you are finding a network to know that y'all can gravitate towards each other and build off of, that should supersede anything, because truly y'all have some work to do, because we want to follow. We need to have something to follow and someone collectively to follow. So I would say to those who are feeling some kind of way because people might have thought it was y'all and it really wasn't, who cares? Y'all are really on the, if you want to, let me stop that, if you want to, you all collectively can do such powerful things, especially if you just, again, let it fly if it don't apply. And I'm being simple on that, and I'm intentional on what I'm saying in 2024. And if we were doing the recap on 2023, that's what I would push back on with your black manosphere. I would push back respectfully to say the ones that are sounding like you that are doing it also from a community perspective. Yes, you're there. Unfortunately, you're still being not snuffed out, but there are more of those that are having more of an impact, right? That are having all this vitriol and is continuing this gender war, which we do not need going into 2024. Show by example, use your emotional intelligence and lead by example. If it don't apply, let it fly. I say the same thing to the women that listen to that. If you know that if what she's saying to you and what you are having in your community is different, then you know that that don't apply to you. Let that fly. That is not your battle. That's not your war. That's where again the discernment comes in with being authentic with yourself and being accountable, right? So it's on both ends, Dee Dee. It's on both as far as I'm concerned. The accountability, the responsibility for us to hold our own selves accountable and have the self reflection, so we don't allow those types of influences to really dictate how we begin to interact with each other. Like sometimes on a personal level, when this is cyberspace, these are things that we can learn from each other, and other things, if it don't apply, let it fly. Like for example, I would love to be at a presence when you all are talking about ways where a situation in Virginia where there's 6 people that are in the same family that are melanated like a family, and they are basically getting snuffed out because these pale faced people are trying to get their land. I would love to hear how collectively, with the different things and the resources that you all have, how y'all are you possibly can help them. And let's go back to what you were saying earlier about some of you all don't believe that racism kind of exists the way it did. Oh, hey, Hood Therapy, happy 2024. Thank you so much for coming in. We're just kind of recapping some things of lessons learned in 2023 and some of the strengths that we can take from it going into 2024. So if you feel up to it, the link is there. Feel free to come on up. Uh, but going back to what I was sharing about the racism part, that is a detriment to us as a collective because you can think of a tennis player. His name was Jeff Blake. You're probably not familiar with him, but I played tennis in college and whatnot. So again, before Serena and Venus, I was with the Arthur Ashes and all the melanated tennis players. But he's one of them, and he also got hemmed up. And he's a famous tennis player. He got hemmed up when he was in New York because the police officers thought he was someone else, just a regular black guy. Now he looks like Boris Cujo. He kind of reminds you of a look like that. So he's not trying to be funny, a dark skinned Tyrone. And yet, but because he fit the type, because he had some melanin, they hemmed him up and hurt him, right? So I would beg to differ with the people in the Black manosphere that is debating that racism exists, or a Tiger Woods, right? Or God rest his soul, even a Kobe Bryant, Michael Vick, Plexico Burgess. I can keep going. That they thought because they were making money for the man that they were above, approach, right? And they found out the hard way. And so that's the kind of, things to topics, or those kind of topics that I would love to hear more of what, the Black manosphere is kind of bringing forth in 2024. And even with transitional housing for ex-offenders for the non-aggressive young men, putting your resources together in certain communities and building that. I would love to, hear those types of things coming from, again, the Black manosphere, because the key word on that one is Black. You want to show us by example. Again, with the stuff with what they're saying and what this other people are saying, or what the women saying, listen, I, I'm not saying that they don't have the right, again, for freedom of speech, by no means. I'm just saying if you know that that's not you and you know that's not part of your platform and what you all are representing, why give it that energy for 2024 when we can use that energy to build and to rebuild as Black men on one side, Black women on the other side, and we can come together collectively in love for 2024. So, what do you think about that?
I think that's a great perspective. I actually agree with you. I think the brothers need to do a better job. We need to do a better job at focusing on issues that are affecting us collectively, both as black men and black women. We have to do a better job at doing that. So like I really do appreciate that comment, those ideas, those concepts. Those are very great points. Um because yeah, there's a section of brothers out here that are of the belief, and there's a rationale behind this. And I mean, I can explain this rationale as to why they don't like to admit to the fact that that there is discrimination and racism still going on. The idea behind the denial of this is that, unfortunately, our people tend to lean on that as an excuse for failure. You know, I can't do this because the white man's stopping me. I can't do that because, it's the white man, it's the white man, it's the white man. And that's some of the reason why we don't like to actually get a lot into that type of topic, because it tends to be a crutch for a lot of our people to lean on, an excuse for not doing your best out here. We want these brothers to do their best out here and not have that type of rationale in their mind as to say, well, if I don't make it, I'm just gonna blame the white man. But at the same time, we do have to recognize that these things do occur out here. These are real issues. So that's where this authentic piece has to come in. The authentic part has to come in. So yeah, I do agree with you, sister, is that we have to acknowledge that these things are still occurring, you know, but also get to a point where we can encourage these brothers to achieve even despite the odds against us. So yeah, that's a delicate balance there, and that's where I'm trying to go to, because I mean, if you want to have real authentic conversations, you have to acknowledge the facts, acknowledge what's going on the ground. Now, you spoke earlier about, if it don't apply, let it fly. And Obsidian has said this numerous times. But I would say this is that when it comes to certain particular types of narratives that have been put out here about black men over the decades, you know, that black men are violent, that black men are bums, that black men are lazy, that black men ain't ish. That's the big one. That black men ain't ish. We've seen numerous content creators that what they like to do, they like to extrapolate what this man did today and what this black man did yesterday and what this black man is doing on this other day, and try to extrapolate that to the collective, to the entire collective of black men. And when David Carroll says they mean us as a collective, there's a lot of fact in that. You know, they tend to mean these brothers as a collective. And that's the way a lot of these brothers are feeling out here, is that these women, when they're talking about men, they're talking about the collective. Like, they're not giving out passes. They're not talking about, oh, well, that's a good man over there and that's a bad man. No, they tend to talk about these men as a collective. And that's something that we talk about here in the Black Manosphere. So the, we can't just let it fly that these narratives that black
Sure,
men
you can.
ain't ish just go out there. Like, there has to be a counter narrative to say, listen, that's not true. And what I like to do is like get it into the statistics and the data and the fact to say, listen, actually black men are doing better. Like black men are getting more educated. Black men are getting their weight up. It's not going to be a situation where just all of a sudden you wake up one day and every black man out here has a 4 year degree, has a master's degree, has a PhD, or has a professional license. Like it's not going to happen that way. But we're seeing a steady progression of brothers out here doing those things. But online, they make it appear as though these men ain't ish, these men ain't doing nothing. So you know what? That would be my only, small pushback, sister. Just small kind of pushback, but it's all in love. Like I really understand that we have to leave a lot of the toxicity behind and try to get more into the building stages, because how are we going to be able to practice what powernomics, right, sister, if the family dynamic isn't functioning correctly? Like how, that's the cellular level. So like if we can fix the cellular level, then we can move on to the community and things of that nature, practice those things that Dr. Claude Anderson talked about so much and quite frequently, right? So that's where kind of like we're coming at it,
Yeah,
uh, also. But I agree with you. We have to do a better job at focusing on, issues that are affecting us collectively. We have to do a better job at that, and we're trying. We've got a actual certified organization now for actual membership into the Black Manosphere. And so there's some organization being attempted to be made, because right now it's very uncohesive, uncoordinated. Brothers are latching on to the Black Manosphere and giving the Black Manosphere a bad name. There are a lot of black men out here saying that they're Black Manosphere, but they're not really Black Manosphere. And they're like really giving the rest of the brothers a bad name. So what we're doing to tackle that is trying to form, officially this organization. And the way this works is that you pay the membership fee, and that's at www.black-manosphere.org. But what happens after that is that somebody has to vouch for you. A brother that's already in the Black Manosphere proper has to vouch for you and say, "Oh, I know this brother. You know, he's so and so and so and so. He's a good brother." Like you have to be vouched for. So there's a bit of vetting there. It's not the best, but there is a bit of vetting there. Like there's something there. You know what I mean? So there's an effort being made, sister. So we're trying out here, trying, and I mean, right now, it's slow going, but we're doing what we can right now. But go ahead, sister.
I will just say to the sisters that are trying to retaliate and respond to all of that, going into 2024 and beyond, if it don't apply, let it fly. You are hearing that they are really working on some of those that actually say those things to you all, and then y'all respond, and then they respond, and then y'all respond, and this is where we are right now. This is how we've been coming into 2023. Hear what he's saying now. They are working on kind of vetting, if you will, those loud ones, right? That's doing all that. In the meantime, between time, they have a plan. We can also have a plan simultaneously to stay away from those spaces. It's not safe. Work more with ourselves, that we can embrace our feminine energy, right? And learn about our own emotional intelligence and how we respond and react to things, and how we master our mindset, and how we grow in our spirituality, how we rebirth ourselves, right? So, this is what I would encourage us to really focus on going forward in 2024, because it sounds like a great plan that you all have, and we wish you well, of course, because I'm all about Black love myself, ultimately, collaboration, right? Not competition, because you don't need to compete in your own home. You can't have a home like that. So I am in agreement with um, the end goal, if you will. So with the again the melanated sisters going into 2024, hear what he's saying and stay away from those spaces. Just because, let me correct that. If you choose to go to those spaces, you just be prepared to what can come out of whomever's mouths, right? So you kind of enter at your own risk. So you know what you're getting. When if you choose to do that, that's on you. I would encourage us to focus more on finding safe spaces within our own community, the melanated women community, that we can uplift each other and talk about different hiccups that we're experiencing, being in the skin that we're in, right, and also the gender that we have as well, and how we're coping and kind of connect on that level. So that's how I would kind of push back with what you were sharing. And I wish, again, I wish you all well with that, because with that comes healing. And we all need to heal, both genders, and then we can collectively heal so we can really get back and rekindle that black love. So I appreciate you sharing that. And we can send it
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
and things like what we're doing right now.
yeah, sister. You know what? I really like having conversations with you because we can agree to disagree, and we've had a history of being able to successfully have great conversations, and that's really what I appreciate with you. That's actually not common out here in these social spaces. It's something that's really hard to find, where a black man and a black woman could talk about these particular types of issues, these relationship issues and things of that nature, and it doesn't become contentious, and I mean that's okay. You know what I mean? That's really what we need more of out here, are more even keel types of conversations. More even keel types of conversations, and and understanding. Like, it's very important that people listen to each other and understand each other and have respect for each other. Because right now, what we've noticed, hopefully in 2024, we can get out of this drama thing that our people love to engage in. Our people love drama, and drama is garnering too much of our attention out here. It's the drama and the entertainment of it. Like, it's okay to consume some entertainment, but when that's all that you're consuming and you're getting emotionally wrapped up into these fake narratives, that's when it becomes problematic. Besides the fact, Miss Keyshawn, that there are younger, impressionable black men and younger, impressionable black women out there who may lack that sense of discernment. Because I was reading, and I'm not sure, I would have to ask you as the expert. I was reading somewhere that an adult's mind isn't really mature until I think the age of 27. So there's a lot of time there where I think people are very impressionable. And, we have a responsibility out here to think about those individuals while we're making this type of content out here, because a lot of this is entertainment. A lot of this out here is entertainment. And I mean, we have to call this down the middle. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to call it down the middle. Obsidian has even said this, is that a lot of this that's going on out here is strictly entertainment, but we have to understand at the same time, right, that these younger impressionable people are listening and watching. So you have to, make it clear, be more precise. And that's something that we like to do, right? Is say, listen, particularly with Obsidian, O'Shea, and the Angry Man, listen. I mean, we are not talking about the collective of black women. I want to make that clear. The Black manosphere proper is not speaking upon the entirety or even the majority of Black women out here. So, I want to make that clear. Generally, we're talking about lower tier individuals, okay? Lower tier individuals that some of these brothers are dealing with and have issues with. And what we're telling them is that you need to do a better job at choosing. Choose better. Stop dealing with these types of people and you wouldn't have these problems. You know what I mean? So I want to get your thoughts on that, Miss Keyshawn.
Before I go any further, I do need to go back and retract something that I said earlier for those who listen later. I mentioned for melanated sisters to not go somewhere. I apologize for that. I do not have that right to tell you that. What I meant to say, and I ended up kind of correcting it, but I want to be clear because I remember being offended that someone else had the audacity to tell me not to go somewhere. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. What I intended to say was if you choose to go to some of these areas in 2024, they are telling you and have shown you who they are, what they believe in, what they're going to spew. It is on you if you still choose to go over there expecting a different result. So I want to make that clear before I go any further, Dee Dee, because again, I'm not trying to be connected with someone else that said something like that. She meant that in another way, but I don't want it to be misconstrued on my end. So thank you for allowing me to clarify um, that, right? So going back to what you were sharing about the 3 or 4 individuals that are, having, it sounds, according to you, um, having a platform that certain men can share certain experiences of the lower tier women, melanated women. I can push back and say, on that same level, the melanated woman should also be entitled to a space to discuss their experiences with their lower tier men. Now, with that being said, everyone has this equal space on the U to the tube. One should not be any better, worse, or whatever than the other because you both are doing the same things. Now, sometimes one or the other may get out of hand, and then the other responds by getting out of hand, and then the next one responds. And again, this is what I have experienced or heard or observed up until 2023. I am hoping, because again, y'all are going to do y'all's thing. I'm hoping that the melanated women that are hearing this, that have ventured out over there, hoping to make some kind of point or insight or whatever the case may be, it's not happening at this time because they're still in the process of vetting those that are not kind of standing on certain principles that, as a collective, they say they want to present themselves to be. In the meantime, between time, we can spend as much time on our end focusing on our spirituality, on our personalities and how we can blend those together, on our emotional intelligence, how we in our responses, how we reacting to just life events and mastering our mindset, working on our sperm. While that sperm is over there doing their thing, we can be working on our sperm or rebirth or rehealing, if you will. So that's kind of what my mindset on going into 2024 for the melanated women. Uh, I'm hoping that we can, again, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. Everyone's entitled to their experiences, and they should be allowed to express it. So that's kind of how I'm hoping to go forward with the melanated women, especially the women, that we can also vet, like you were saying earlier about helping the brothers learn how to vet who is honestly who is special enough to have their seed. because that is a special type of deal. And to take pride in your seed, everybody can't get it. You can't be skeet skeeting everybody. Everybody ain't worthy. And on that same note, as black women, we want to teach our younger women that every seed ain't yours. It takes a special seed to come together with us so that we can create life. We have to help them to learn how to vet better so that even when the both of them get together, they can be responsible as they're expressing, their love for each other. And hopefully it will be a love type of connection, right? So that's what, again, I'm hoping for and pushing for and bringing the information out on some of the blogs to come and the different lives that we can kind of send out in cyberspace going forward. What do you think?
I think that's a very great idea for 2024. I think people should definitely take heed to that. That's great. And I would say this is that um as far as the brothers are concerned here in the black manosphere, I would just go back and, brothers, this is the deal. I mean, if you want to have a conversation with women, if that's something that you're interested in doing, because I know a lot of these brothers online want to actually talk to these women, but they have issues with being able to have a conversation with them, and that's really unfortunate. I would say this. I would say this is that if you talk with women with respect, have a level of decorum, a level of understanding, you know, they would be willing to talk to you. But if you're being obnoxious, disrespectful, and using foul language, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to work. Like, these types of things are problematic for these women out here. They're looking to have productive conversations, with men who are able to articulate themselves. If you are unable to articulate yourself, that's something you need to work on. You need to learn how to speak to women. You need to learn how to speak to these women. A lot of these brothers, Keyshawn, don't know how to speak to women. Like, as soon as they get angry, the first thing that they want to do is start calling names. You know, calling these women out their names and things of that nature because they have gotten into their feelings. See, and they don't know how to express themselves unless they're calling names. That's really unfortunate. And it does make you seem ignorant. It does make you seem out of touch, unable to relate, and things of that nature. You have to be able to listen, actively listen, and be able to convey your messages out in a way that she understands. You have to be able to do that. If you're not able to do that, then what happens is a disconnect occurs. And this disconnect leads to a lot of misunderstandings and people getting in their feelings and a lot of this name calling and bickering, arguing, fighting, and fussing. So these brothers have to do a better job at being able to do that, being able to communicate effectively, being able to say, listen, I mean, we can agree to disagree, but let's not let this get to a point where, we're out here, acting a plumb fool. We have to be able to have a discourse. It's called etiquette, right? Communication etiquette. That's very important. You know, some of what you and I are doing here, Miss Keyshawn, like we don't agree on everything. It's not necessary. for us to agree on everything. In relationships, long-term relationships, and I can speak on this being a man that's been married 20 years, we're not going to agree on everything, but you have to be able to understand that we're in this together. Let's talk about it. You have your points, I have my points. And let's come to a compromise. But go ahead, Miss Keyshawn. Go ahead, sister.
No, I love it, and I agree. I was actually when I was on the other platform, was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman that was with his wife for 24 years, I think it was, and he was sharing just what you were stating, and so it's wonderful to hear that. That's the kind of frequency that these YouTube spaces need more of in 2024. Not what people aren't doing right, but I mean, yeah, aren't doing right, but they are doing right. That's maintaining the relationship for the longevity. And that, again, we can learn from those types of relationship goals, not what we are presented by these celebrities that we find out um, they got a lot of issues. No, those we talking about the ones like you and others, the gentleman I was speaking about earlier, along with a few other content creators that have been together for 20 plus years. We need to hear more of that so that the content creators that are still here, that are still present, if they're not going to begin with that type of content, then bring in people like yourselves and y'all's experiences can kind of counterbalance um, their influence, and we can move forward with more of that balance in 2024 and further. So again, we need that. And I think that's very much on point. And as a matter of fact, because I know it's getting kind of late, it's kind of we were talking about agreeing to disagree, um, and we're going to kind of lead into the Hamas and Israel and Palestine, um, really travesty that's taken place. And I am curious to hear kind of your perspective because with this one, Dee Dee, there are so many different ways to look at it and different eyes to kind of view what has been going on. So you're one that actually paid attention to some of the content that I presented. I appreciate it. I am curious as to kind of hear your perspective um, on that. So if we will, we can uh, give maybe if you can 2 or 3 good minutes or so of kind of going into 2024 if we were to kind of sum it up, what we are looking forward to on our parts to kind of reduce the tension between the melanated brother and sister, what would it look like uh, going into 2024 from a Black manosphere perspective?
Yes, you know what? You know what? I would say this is that I think that more effective communication needs to happen. I think that more conversations need to be had. I think that you know black men are misunderstanding black women, and black women are misunderstanding men. And I think that through conversations, I think that there can be a building and understanding of where each other are coming from, how we're feeling, our thought processes, and there could be more of a mutual respect there, and something to build on instead of something to be used to divide. So, like, that's really, really important. There's a lot of division going on. There's a lot of division going on online, and there needs to be more unification going on, more understanding, because we're in this together. We both face a lot of the same issues, and we understand each other more than anybody else. So I think that that should be something that helps to unite us. So, like, through more conversations, you know, I think that that can occur, but the conversations have to have etiquette. We have to listen to each other, right? Allow each other to have the space to express their opinion. And the person actually is actively listening. The other person is actively listening and not listening to respond, but listening to understand. See, there's a difference there. So that takes a level of maturity, a level of experience to be able to understand. It really does. So I would say this is that for 2024, this could definitely be done. This is not rocket science. It's not anything that requires an advanced degree to do. I just think that people need to get back to home training and learning how to respect one another out here. See, people get on this internet, Keyshawn, and what they think is, well, I'm behind a computer board and they don't know who I am, so I could just spew all all my toxic narratives. I could just be as disrespectful as I want to be. And see, that's problematic. That's the problem. Is that there's a lot of nonsense going on, and the people who are reasonable are not being heard. All of the attention is being steered towards the dysfunction, the arguing, bickering, fussing, and fighting, and that's really unfortunate. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, sister, that you know people can recognize what they're seeing out here and recognize that, hey, listen, it's time now to transition to something that's going to benefit us collectively. That's just what I believe. So that's how I think that we can do better in 2024. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see. But I'm definitely hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful, sister. But go ahead.
No, I appreciate that, and again, send it out in the universe, because that's what it's about. Manifestation in 2024. If it's meant to be, it shall, right? And for us, again, like melanated sisters, if it don't apply, let it fly. If you go into certain spaces, know what you're going to get into, or what there's an opportunity you will hear, or what will be called. That's enter at your own risk, right? Or spend a lot of that energy finding platforms that are more positive and uplifting and encouraging. That's working on self-help, self-care, mental health, spirituality, all the good entrepreneurship, education, all kinds of good stuff uh, that really helps us to step into our greatness, right? So, again, thank you, Dee Dee, and I look forward to having future lives where we're actually kind of breaking down some of those very same topics. One, especially in effective communication, because it is key, and actively listening, not just to listen to respond, listening to comprehend, listening to empathize, all right, to relate. So I hear you talking, and with people like yourself that are leading this 2024 empowerment in the Black Manosphere, I look forward to hearing and seeing a difference in that platform, in that sector of the platform. So again, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me up. Like, you know what I mean? That's what we're really striving for, you know what I'm saying, to do. And something that I'm really looking forward to doing is trying to, get more into the nuances and, trying to get more to real, quote unquote, real conversations and actually trying to uplift black men in ways that are going to improve their lives. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing. Now I know that you wanted to, and I'm not sure if you've got enough time, but I know that we wanted to talk about this tragedy that's going on in the world right now with Israel and Hamas. So if you're willing to talk about it, we could talk about it. But we could, also definitely save that for later if you want. I mean, it's up to you. I really enjoyed your presentation, your perspective on this world crisis, this war, this tragedy, and I would definitely call what's going on over there in the Middle East a tragedy. So if you want to, sister, we could go ahead and kind of talk about this. I know that we may have some different ideas and different concepts regarding this, but it's up to you if you want to go ahead and try to get into this, or if you would like to save that for a later time.
Actually, I would love to get into it for a few minutes, at least 15 to 20 at least, because I want to have a part two of this, kind of like kind of what I was attempting to do with the presentations, because there's a part three that's also going to be up to the present of the influences that we're still having over there, and the monies that we're still. It's just ridiculous how deep we're into it. So I would love to begin with some of it today, or this morning, and then kind of piggyback on that on the next live if we can.
Okay, yeah, sure, sure. So just let me
So,
know if
so
you
let
can
me ask you
hear
a
me.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
And that's what I was going to say. Yes, first of all, I can hear you. And um, with this particular content, I am curious as to
Can you say that again real quick?
little things we want and kind of sure. I'm just curious as to your overall perspective of the content presented. Was there some things in there that you might have known about, some other things maybe not so much, and if any of that um, gave another perspective as to how you were thinking before you were introduced to the new information.
Oh, well, my overall perspective of it really hasn't changed. But I thought it was interesting to see a differing like perspective on it, and I just thought it was really interesting. Like I think it could be something where, what I'm saying, you and I can, you know, just have a friendly discussion on, and just, it's it's not really, I wouldn't think that it would be something that's diametrically opposing, but I think at some points it can be opposing, but I don't think it's anything that I would think that is a major like stumbling block. But I definitely thought that your take on this was very intellectually, good. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was well done. Um, but I just had a few, you know, just a few questions about some of it. You know what I mean? Not all of it, but some of it. And your last video that you done on it, like like I thought that was a great place to start. But if you want to get my overall idea of what I think about the whole, like what's going on, I think it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that it had to come to this. I think it was definitely avoidable. I think that this could have been avoided, you know. But I can kind of get more into that. But if it's okay, sister, I mean, what I like to do is, and I've done this before, is that I kind of broke it down into facts that everybody should be able to agree on, right? Just, just major dates and facts that I think everybody, should agree on. There shouldn't be any contention. Um, and then from there, as far as the nuances, I think that's where there's some differences of ideas and concepts. So that's what I'm thinking, sister. But what do you think about that?
I think that's a great approach. For example, we can both agree that in 1948 Israel was created, right? We can agree that
Right,
prior
right,
to
right, right.
1948, the, the, these
Hmm.
European Zionist forces infiltrated that territory that we now know is as Jerusalem, as Israel. We can agree with those types of facts, right? Is that what you is just to
Exactly,
make sure I'm trying to understand kind of
exactly,
where
exactly,
you're going with the approach that we can understand
exactly,
those are facts. However,
exactly.
kind of okay, and however okay, so basically, the subjective part comes in and kind of how the different, like you say, nuances, the different factors, the symptoms that led to this. That's where you can provide different perspectives as well. If I'm hearing you correctly, is that pretty much where you would like the approach to be? Because if that's the case, I'm great with it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I like to come at it from. Like I think that's, like probably the best way to have a discussion on it. Um I had a conversation with a sister about, about this conflict earlier, and that's how I structured it. Like I just started off with the facts that I think everybody can, saying agree on, and then we could kind of get into more of the nuances and, I'm saying, the differing ideas. And like it's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's anything wrong with that. I'm not emotionally like tied, to the point where like, you know, I would be yelling, screaming, or anything of that nature. And I don't think that you would be either. So I think it would be a great way for us, what I'm saying, to just to have a difference of opinion and kind of just see where we kind of, see where the audience falls on this. Maybe I can learn something, maybe you can learn something. I mean, like, I just think it'd be kind of fun. So maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe if that's okay with you, I could go ahead and kind of just present a little bit of what I wanted to say initially. And then maybe we could show your video, and then kind of get into, some of the nuances and things of that nature.
Yeah, and before I relinquish this to you, let me say you are very much with your assumption about I am not that invested that I'm going to cuss you or anyone else out. We have our own intra-cultural challenges that my concern, my energy, my spiritual gifts are focused on, that you are absolutely positively correct. That's their stuff over there, and that's what I hope to have presented in this part of the content, that we have our own things to be concerned about, to use our energy toward. And I'm saying to them, how dare you try to judge us for not picking up your flag? You never really picked up our flag, so this is yours and y'all's. So thank you. Before I
Mhm.
give it to you, Dee Dee, to start, thank you for letting me clarify that. And you're absolutely correct. I'm not going to lose sleep. I feel bad for them. I'm an empath, so I feel, you know, that innocent lives are lost. There are innocent lives over here that continue to be lost. We need to focus
Right,
on that. So I give it back to you, Dee Dee.
right, right. Yeah, sister, like I totally agree, and I feel the same way. So, okay, let me know if you can still hear me. Can you still hear me right now?
Yeah, I,
Okay. Okay, so
I can hear
okay,
you loud and clear.
okay, great. So Israel was established in 1948. So if you think about, you know, the people of Israel and how it was established, I would say this. There were two world wars, the First World War and the Second World War, where many Jews were persecuted and things of that nature. Like there was a whole Holocaust. So, you know, there's a bit of a background there, but it was established in 1948. Okay. And in 1967, Israel captured Gaza from Egypt. So Egypt had Gaza, and there was a skirmish, a war where Israel actually captured this area called Gaza in 1967. Now, in 2005, Israel decided to withdraw its troops and the settlers from Gaza in 2005. Okay. And in 2007, Hamas took over because there was a brief civil war with another faction called Fatah. So, like Fatah and Hamas were battling it out to take control of Gaza, right, in 2007. And Hamas winds up taking over. Okay. Now, because Hamas is designated as a terrorist organization by the United States and is not liked by Israel, okay, they imposed a siege on Gaza. So what is a siege? Now, it wasn't just Israel. Egypt also imposed a siege on Gaza. And this siege means what? A siege is where fuel, food, water, and electricity is restricted. Okay. And now with this new conflict in 2023, there was a total siege of Gaza. So that means all food, all fuel, water, and electricity is just totally like controlled as to how much gets into there. Now we got to understand Hamas doesn't recognize Israel, right? They say that it's an illegitimate state, okay? But according to the UN and according to everyone else, just about everyone else, the majority of everyone else, I would say, is that that is a state. Like it was established in 1948. But Hamas doesn't want to recognize that. And they have stated that they don't deal with Israel. Like there are no talks between Hamas and Israel directly. And just like I said earlier, the US State Department designated Hamas as a terrorist group. Now, we're not the United States and Israel have proclaimed and have said that they're not against the Palestinian people, the actual people. They're against this organization of Hamas, this group of individuals who in October put it upon themselves to go out there and SA women, kidnap women, children, and men, entire families, and kill many people in Israel. They took it upon themselves to do this. Okay. Terrible actions that I think everybody should agree was like just, you know, not acceptable. Like they resorted to very barbaric types of actions. And it's really unfortunate that that had occurred. And they have been doing terroristic acts and actions for a long time, for a very long time. I think most of what I said, I think should definitely not be anything that's contentious, but it could be. So like I'll just start off with that like introduction there of like the facts, some of the rationale, and not getting into too much of like the nuances as of yet. As of yet. But now I would say this too, is that I think that what had happened to Israel in October has been equivalated to what the United States went through with 9/11. They're actually saying it's even worse because of the population differences and things of that nature. So, some of the rationale behind what's going on now, as far as them, Israel actually taking action inside of Gaza, military action and war inside of Gaza, you know, is based on this idea that what they want to do, or what they say that they want to do, is they want to go inside of this area called the Gaza Strip, right? And destroy Hamas. And listen, I mean, war is a terrible thing. Women, children die in war. Like, this happens. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Like, it really is. So that's what we're seeing right now, is a lot of, a tragedy occurring. And it's not because of the Palestinian people generally. It's because, in my opinion, okay, of who they elected, or not elected, but who they allowed to have political and military control over their area. It's really, really unfortunate. You know, it's sad to see this. Children, women dying, and you're bombed and all of these things, but this is what happens in war. Like, this should not be anything surprising. You know, this is what happens when there's a war. Like, there are going to be casualties, unintended casualties, particularly when these individuals, these Hamas fighters, are individuals who hide under hospitals, who make tunnels, who hide behind civilians, don't have a real army, but fighting more of a guerrilla style type of way. I mean, it's going to be inevitable that there are going to be, unintended casualties. So, Keyshawn, this is my perspective on this generally. But I want to get into what you presented, because there's a different narrative, like there's a different perspective, and it's only fair that we talk about this. So let's go ahead and get
The
into it.
views and opinions held by this channel's broadcaster. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. This channel's owner claims no copyright to said content. The broadcaster of this channel cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. The broadcaster of this channel is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify, but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this channel. If you have a complaint about something or find your content is being used incorrectly, please contact the broadcaster prior to making a copyright claim. Any infringement was not done on purpose and will be rectified to all parties' satisfaction. When World War I ended in 1918, the British took control of Palestine. The League of Nations issued a British Mandate for Palestine, a document that gave Britain administrative control over the region and included provisions for establishing a Jewish national homeland in Palestine, which went into effect in 1923.
I would like to say this really quick. I mean, this was very, very well done here. The source is down here at the bottom. http://www.history.com. Very reputable, very well done. No problems. No problems.
So, Amy, Deborah, Juliana, this is the beginning of how you all invaded a native land and took over that native land. And this is what we're dealing with today with Hamas. Just keep that in mind as we continue with the data that I will be presenting. According to the JewishVirtualLibrary.org, Israel had received over $120 billion in assistance, including 3 special aid packages during that time of Kissinger and Lyndon B. Johnson. The first followed the signing of the Israel-Egypt peace treaty and Israel's withdrawal from the Sinai, the redeployment of Israeli forces, and rebuilding of an air base in the Negev cost approximately $5 billion.
Okay, really quick right there. Okay, so we know that Israel has received a lot of money, but let's ask the question of why. And I would surmise this, Keyshawn, and just feel free to jump in. I mean, okay, what I'm thinking as to why that is, if you think about World War One and World War II, those people of Israel were persecuted. Like there was an entire Holocaust done to those people. And what happens is after the war, reparations are paid. A lot of reparations are paid. And what we do in, in the United States is that we're like a champion for freedom and standing up for the quote unquote uh hurt victims out here, right? So we are assisting them and helping them, you know, understanding what they just went through during World War One and World War Two. So I'm thinking this is why a lot of money was funneled to them, is to try, as a part of like reparations, and during war, if you ally with me, I'm going to reward you for that. Like if you're my friend, right? And we go against somebody and we win, like I'm going to reward you. And us being the power player out here, we're able to, uh, through the Bretton Woods Accord, that was the accord that was done after the war and things of that nature that really put us in a power position as far as trade and things of that nature. We are the orchestrators of how this entire world economy works. So it's definitely in our favor. We're going to do the shit in our damn favor. Like that makes sense. We're going to make everything in our damn favor because we're the victors of World War One and World War II, right? So with Israel being our friend, right? And we're seeing them as victims because what the Germans done to them and what other groups may have done to them. We're gonna like really push funds to their area, like to their side, and say, listen, we got your back. But Keyshawn, I want to get your thoughts on that.
Sure. Um, Number one, you have a set of European males that are sitting around a table and discussing how to dissect and break up territories that have been in families for centuries, even going back to biblical time. Let's just start there first. If that's not colonialism 101, I don't know what is. Okay? Not only that, they decide a group of people, as you say, have been persecuted, need to go somewhere. And, oh, I think we'll go over there because there in the territory that it's in, it controls what? The trade. So now we can put our puppets and our plants in this created state. So not only can we monopolize the trade, we can also stop Russia from interfering with trying to get the trade in the Middle East. Kind of the same with that. You were speaking of Hamas and Fatah. I would encourage you to implore you to ask yourself which one of those two did we fund at that time? Okay. And I'm going to go even further because at one time they were doing what they could to stifle the remaining, if they called them leftist groups, but they were simply civilians trying to fight for the land, that the little bit of land that they had left. And it's kind of along the lines of with the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. We don't want to acknowledge that we funded them so that we can stop what Russia was doing and coming into that territory. Nor do we want to discuss the fact that we also funded Saddam Hussein, who was, of course, they quote unquote was a dictator of Iraq to combat what was going on in Iran. We don't want to discuss our dirty laundry and how we are, like you're saying so eloquently, the puppets, and we use people as pawns for our selfish gain because that is selfish. We had no need to be over there doing anything with them. That is a civil unrest that was going on way before we even thought about being into the picture. But we saw a way because Russia was not doing what the United Nations wanted them to do, and that's typical of them. A way to, in a sense, sanction them without saying it's a sanction. What better way can we do that than create a state of Zionists that think like we do? Because they're not the original Jews. Let's be real about that. And even now, even in 2018 to 2000, excuse me, even to the present, those people, the Israeli government finally admitted to sterilizing Ethiopian Jews that were waiting on entry into their own native land. These are the very same ones that we are trying to say they are the victims. When the founding of the 1948 up until the 1967s and 73s, over 788,000 people were either killed, maimed, or slaughtered of the 1.9 million. So that's even half of who were there to begin with. That alone, with all due respect, the chickens are coming home to roost. And that is something that America will never learn. We will never learn our lesson because we don't understand by us funding these types of things and we think we can keep them on a leash. They begin to do their thing. And so then we're trying to pick up the pieces and be reactive. But we don't want to talk about that. Hey, Starseed, happy 2024. Thank you so much for coming in. We've just been recapping on a lot of different things where you missed the check it out. We were kind of talking about not the gender war, but how to no longer have that going into 2024. Right now, we're on this Hamas Palestinian tragedy. And if you want to come up, the link is down there. So put some typing in there. I can see if I can respond and sometimes my ADD kicks in. So thank you so much for stopping by. But going back to what we were discussing, it for me, it's bigger than just these two countries. It's an example of how a white Eurocentric, like patriarchal type of mindset came over for their own selfish gains, messed up what was going on, took no consideration of the cultural differences, the different diversities, because they could have talked and negotiated. That's not what they wanted, Dee Dee. They wanted to implant a government that was pro-Christian, and over here, that was one of the main reasons why we said we want to get away from our motherland to have separation of church and state. But yet, it's okay for us to implement that and create that and plant certain people so that they can do that. And there's no coincidence, Dee, that one of the first prime ministers was born in Ukraine. She wasn't even Israeli, Dee. So it's bigger. It is bigger than what we're seeing now. It's the chickens are coming home to roost. This is what this is. And again, when you do some research, you'll see that there's this a funding as to how Hamas came to be. And every one of the people that we put over there have come back to bite us in the butt. And it's not that they're biting us in the butt necessarily. It's one that they found some types of freedoms and they want to make it work themselves the way they want it to. Now they have to be demonized, that they're the bad guys. When at one time we hired them to be the good guys. We have to, again, hold ourselves accountable for our influence because that had nothing to do with us. We had domestic terrorism still going on around that time as well, Dee Dee. But we're not talking about that. We're just
Yeah,
continuing to
you're
give
right.
money to them over there. So that's
Yeah,
so
you're right.
far. That's how I will push back on it.
Feel you,
And
feel you.
and
You
they're
know
saying
what?
it's equivalent to 911 because. Mhm.
Oh no, go ahead, sister. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You going in. I like this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just, another perspective and look how the chronological or the sequential aspects of this historical tragedy has been brewing for a while. It's just that now because of social media and television and technology, we're seeing it. These people, when you see some of these pictures that I presented in this particular presentation of, we're talking 1970s, and they're being bombed and they have no legs and they have no, I mean, this just didn't happen overnight, but no one's thinking about those children or their grandchildren or excuse me, their great grandparents. And after so much abuse, especially when you've been taken out of your own homeland, how much are they supposed to subject themselves to without snapping or responding or revolting? When it was our influence that allowed those Zionist forces to take. And here's the thing, Didi, it wasn't a siege. They took over because, and I'm using this as a comparison, but I want you to think back on that time. Even in those native lands, they didn't have that type of technology. They probably was doing the knife or the machete or a little chopped up sword, just primitive types of weaponry. And then you have Zionist forces that are funded not just with money, but with auxiliary and equipment and training and strategic planning, how to wipe them out. So it's literally a David and Goliath type of mindset. It's not a mindset, a concept. That's what took place. So it wasn't a siege. And then when you have the United Nations agreeing to divvy up the spots, where Jordan has to give up some of theirs, where Egypt has to give up the Sinai, where it's like, what? How dare you have that type of caucasity to be around a table and separate these families that have been together for centuries because you want to catch Russia before they get in there and also control their resources? How selfish and narcissistic and arrogant can America be, GD? And then turn around decades later and demonize the very same people that they set up to begin with, DD.
Yeah, great point. I mean, Keyshawn, I mean, you know, you is that's why I like talking to you, man, because you got some real great ideas, some real great points, man. I mean, I'm gonna tell you this. Now I took up like international relations in college and political science. I'm gonna tell you this is that when it comes to these nation states, they always act in their own self best interest. So I know you mentioned about them being narcissists and things of that nature, but that's what they're supposed to do. Every state acts in its own self best interest. So that's how we set this up. Like the United States has set it up like this. Like we're the winners out here. We won, man. So we're gonna set this stuff up to our benefit out here. Like it would be foolish to do otherwise. Yeah, we're gonna say that, oh, it's all about equalness and fairness and all that. That's bullshit. We got it all in our damn favor, tip in our damn hands because we're the winners. Keyshawn, we are the winners out here. So that's why it's set up. That's see, you see it, but what I'm trying to tell you is the reason why you see it the way you do is because that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be set up that way. We supposed to win, right? We supposed to be the ones to always be the right ones on the righteous side. But we're not always on the righteous side though. But
Didi,
but
there's,
we're the winners. But
and
we're the
that's what I was
winners.
going to say respectfully.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is why I will push back and say how we are the winners, and yet we have the highest crime rate. We are the winners, and yet we
Mhm,
have the highest incarceration rate. We are the winners, and yet we have
mhm.
more prisons with our spot than everybody can find. We are the winners, and yet we have more mental health issues. We are the winners, and yet we have more broken homes. We are the winners, and yet we have depression. We are the winners, and yet we have more serial killers. We are the winners. That is where, as a melanated being, I will push back because all of that I have mentioned is a Eurocentric aspect because it's about greed for them. And no, we do not need to be interfering with those people. It's their stuff. And as and melanated people, that's what we should be about. But we have also been indoctrinated that what you're saying, because we have more territory, more stuff, we are the winners, and yet we are more spiritually void as a country than those countries together, and they have a lot less. And by those statistics alone that I've just mentioned, I can keep going on, right? However, you get my gist that we are not winners. That is a Eurocentric perspective of what winning is. When you are not in competition with every dang on body all the time, where it's a collaboration, a collective, which is more Afrocentric, that is a oneness. Those are winners, and that's where, respectfully, the spiritual shift has to shift back to our origin, which is understanding what winning really means. What is it? What did they say? What is it? Oh man, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul?
Good one.
That's for them. That's not for us. You
Good
know,
one.
you understand?
Yeah.
But yet we're acting like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good one.
that's where I can say for us as melanated, and I agree with what you're saying, and that's why I painted it the way that I did. And for us to get to that conclusion, that we are thinking selfishly as a country, and unfortunately, it is killing our spirit. It is making us more divisive and more corrupt. And the more corruption that we have out here in this world, it's going to be met with more corruption because it's about that whole law of attraction. As melanated people, we don't need to be involved with that foolery because they are showing us who they are and have been. Believe them. See what they have been doing. And with the content that I will be continuing with breaking down Afghanistan and East Timor, which is Indonesia now, and how Americans' involvement in all of these places, not just domestically, they have been terrorizing people forever. And then when it doesn't work in their favor, or I should say in our favor, we will demonize those people. So then there'll be a reason to give us the emotional charge, like comparing it to 9/11, that when we say, yes, we're going to give them the last $10 that we have to this fund so they can go over there and blow up Hamas. And it's not Hamas that they are blowing up. Netanyahu has said he is going for basically obliteration. He is not trying to do any kind of ceasefire. They finally admitted that they knew that there was a civilian refuge in that hospital, that they knew that main people for Hamas weren't there. They finally admitted that, Dee Dee. Things that, of course, some of us already knew.
But see, let me
And
let me.
now it's
You know
looking
what?
real sticky coming back over here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me say this though. Yeah, they may have known that, just like how we treated those Afghan prisoners, all them pictures that came out of us having them people on leashes and stuff and doing all this weird sexual stuff. Like you know what? I'm gonna tell you that that what happens is, I mean, if you could put yourself back, right? If you remember 9/11 and Keyshawn, you know what? You would be surprised because, bruh, it's a lot of people that wasn't even born when 9/11 had. You know what? I asked somebody, I said, "Do you know about 9/11?" A joker told me he wasn't even born. And then I started thinking about it. I said, "Damn, I ain't know I was that damn old." I mean, everybody should know about 9/11, but obviously,
I don't mean to laugh. It's not a laughing matter, but
no.
I thought about that too.
But for real though, Keyshawn, it's unbelievable. Like, bro, like, oh my God, man. I was like, but you would know this. You remember, right, what the sentiment was. Like, after them people did what they did to us, do you know how mad everybody would, bro? I mean, I remember I was sitting in class, I was in the 11th grade when that junk happened. And bro, do you know, I was like, who the fuck did this shit? You know what I mean? Like, I was pissed, bro. Like, it was people saying, bro, we gotta get them, we gotta get whoever it is that did this. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's the way Israel feel about what they did in October. They are angry, bro. So yeah, they might have known that it was civilians there or whatever, but you gotta understand these people mad, bro. Like they mad. Keyshawn, they mad. Like I ain't
And how
playing.
long?
They mad, bro. Like so I get it.
How?
Like
Let
I
me ask you this.
understand it. And that's why we're not fighting them too much about it, because it's like we went through the same shit with 9/11, bruh. Who was these damn people that did? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, flying an airplane. I mean, what the damn hell, man? And it caused so much, bruh. That caused so much problems. I mean, like, so many jobs were lost. So many people in my generation couldn't get to where they wanted to get to, all because the jobs were gone, the economy went to ish, and then it never got back to what it was in the 90s. It never got back to what it was in the 90s, bro. I couldn't wait to be like out, because I was like, bro, like it's so much money out here to be made. You know what I mean? But when that happened, bro, the jobs went away, everything went down. And bro, like, so we get it. You know what I mean? Like we understand why Israel feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that jump was ridiculous. I mean, they went over there, crossed that damn border, started kidnapping people. Bruh, why don't you go through the normal peace process if you want a two-state solution? If you want a two-state solution, get rid of Hamas, have a decent damn government over there, and say, hey, listen, we want a two-state solution. Let's go through it the proper way. But Hamas is not it. We already then designated them a terrorist organization. They they're not going to get anywhere with Hamas. They are not going to get anywhere. When are they going to learn, right, that Hamas is not their ticket? They need to get a better representation, and then they can have a two-state solution. You know what? I support a two-state solution. I think that's a great idea. That's where they should be. But it's not going to happen with Hamas. It's not. Those people are
Okay.
barbaric.
Let me.
But anyway, yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Keisha. Go ahead.
No, no, I hear your sentiment, and I will say this. Uh, how about the Palestinians, the Jordanians, the Syrians, and the Egyptians also having decades of anger when they were killed, maimed, and slaughtered in exile? No one's talking about that. What led to this boiling point? Because that's what we're seeing as Hamas, a boiling point. No, I don't agree with any type of violence, especially towards innocent people. I've not said that I've agreed with that. You have never heard me say that, and nor will you hear me say that. What I am saying is that what is being done to Israel and that created state is what has been done to the very same people that have been their neighbors, and without their permission, without their okay, for decades since their beginning. Because Israel didn't come in with a collaborative type of deal. That's not what they did, Dee Dee. With the help of the United Nations, they divvied up territory that had been in native lands for centuries prior to. This is where I have to drive that home, because that's a major part of it that a lot of us aren't really taking into the consideration that it really truly deserves. And it goes back to even the Trail of Tears when all of that happened. Well, after before the Trail of Tears, there were some rebel Native Americans, right? That after a certain amount of time, all these Europeans coming over and just wiping them out for no reason, while they think they have the bow and arrow and they got guns, who you think's gonna win? It's the same type of dynamic that with U.S. backing that was going on over there. So it was literally David versus Goliath. And I'm sure Israel was mad because just like with America, when how dare, and this was we find that wasn't the case, that Saddam didn't have weapons of mass destruction, all that crap, but we were told that certain people were responsible for this thing. So we want to get even with all of them, not thinking some of the simple things like how could they have become so undetected at that amount of time? How did one of the main people meet with the other people before he left? How were they trained here for so long to do what they did with the approval of government uh, 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 officials? No one's really talking about that with 9/11. We're just charged up because of certain people were the ones that were blamed for it. We found out again there were a lot of loopholes with that. The same with Hamas. We will discover that there was some funding that was going on that they said, you know what, we're not going to let y'all use us as puppets anymore because you ain't letting us get our state. And I'm going to say this, Dee Dee, that um, that solution was actually suggested with, I think it was Anwar Sadat and Kissinger, I think in the 70s, right? But nothing became of that because that's not what Israel was going to do. That's not what they wanted to do. They wanted all or nothing.
Mm,
So what do you think about that?
yeah, sister. You know what? I would agree with you. That's why, like, I appreciate your perspective on it because you got some facts and some data, right, to say otherwise. And see, that's why I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that because you know what? There's a lot of truth in that. I mean, I guess at that time, like I don't know what Israel was on. Maybe they just thought, no, we ain't agreeing to that shit. But now maybe, or maybe they would be more amenable to it. I mean, things change after time, but my thing is that I think that a two-state solution would be a good idea. It's just that Hamas can't be the face of it. You know what I mean? Like I understand the anger. Yeah, you know what? You could be angry and shit, but listen, if you do that type of thing, like going across the border and doing what they did in October, man, like, do you think Israel just gonna stand by and let that just be unanswered? Like they gonna go in there like full
I'll
force.
tell you
Like
this.
that's not the way. Like that's not the way you resolve an issue. Like it's not gonna work. You know what? We understand the anger. Like I could understand that anger. A lot of them got killed. A lot, they feel like that their land was taken away and all that. You know what? It's understandable. But I mean, you got to deal with the realities of the situation. You're not as powerful as Israel. Like, it didn't work out in your favor. Like, life is not fair. Like, that shit's going to happen, man. Like, things like that can happen. That's really unfortunate. But you
And
got
you're
to
gonna
be
get mad at me.
Oh, Lord. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Nah, you, because when I make this analogy, you're gonna be like, damn, Keyshawn, because even though I don't want to acknowledge it, historically, it does parallel. What we're talking about is actually what we now know as Mexicans actually dealt with in what we know as Texas, New Mexico, California, some parts of Nevada, where there was Native Americans that were there. And when the Europeans decided they wanted more than the East Coast, they decided F those people that are there. They call it the manifest destiny because they try to portray these people as demonized and they're not Christian and they're primitive and they need our instruction, our Eurocentric, arrogant, corrupt, barbaric, animalistic influence to steal everything. They need us to guide them. So let's go over there and wipe them out with our guns because they got bow and arrow. Let's go over there and give them disease and give them tobacco. Alcohol, and take their land. The ones that don't lay down, what is it? Take you lay down or die down. What are those terms? That's what the Eurocentric perspective was when they took over, going westward, young man. And now, ironically enough, the very same descendants of the original people that were pushed further down the south of the border are now coming back up to reclaim their land and Americans and now also us as well. We have gotten on that bandwagon to condemn them, to demonize them, and the whole nine when truthfully, historically, they should have been here to begin with. The same influences of these Eurocentric, corrupt, barbarian, pale-faced mother shut your mouth that it came over there to the Middle East to do all their stuff, they did it here too. So again, it's bigger for me looking at it from the socioeconomic, the historical foundation. There's so many uh, similarities, but the commonality, DD, is it's from the Eurocentric, primitive, mutated genetic recessive gene people from the land of Caucasus that have led all of this devastation everywhere they've gone. For, as you say, to be winners. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. That you see, and that's the thing is that you know what, and they are very intelligent, Keyshawn. Because if you think about this, what kind of people, right, can come up with the idea that okay, so I'm gonna get rid of these people, right? So what I'm gonna do on Thanksgiving, this particular day, I'm gonna give these people a blanket, right? That has like a flu on it or like a virus on it because I know that their like immune system is not used to our immune system because we so damn nasty, right? So we're gonna put something on this damn blanket, and that's how we gonna, you know what I mean, decimate them. Do you know that's what they did? Like that's true. That shit actually happened, man. Like, so these people are very intelligent. Like, they be thinking with their minds, bro. Like, it's not about that physical shit. Like, they win based on their mindset and just being cunning, conniving, manipulative, and all of that. That's why them people on that island, I forgot what the name of that island was, but Tariq talked about it, right?
I remember that, don't you?
They would
They
they
wiped
would
them out.
they would not let them people over there, bro. You're not stepping over here with your bullshit.
That's, yo, I laughed on that. I
Yeah,
laughed on that.
man.
I'm not gonna even lie to you.
I
I
know,
showed.
man, but like, yeah, yeah, I know. But you see what but see, that's what I was kind of getting at is that, I mean, they might be recessive. Like, it depends on what you call recessive because their intellect is real up there. Like, they're highly manipulative, and they will get you to trust them. And see, that's when they stab your ass in the back. They don't see you as equal. Like, they're not
Don't
gonna
I
see
know?
you ever as
Don't I
being
know?
equal. Like, they keep talking about some, oh, we don't see color. That's a goddamn lie. Everybody see color, bro. Like, particularly them. Keyshawn, you tripping right now. You tripping, ain't you? But yeah, I'm just saying, we gotta call that shit down the middle, sister. We gotta call that shit right down the middle. So yeah, man, like, great point. You know what I mean? Great point. I mean, it's just that
Didi, let me
we
ask you a
live
question.
in. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And this is what I asked them too. In order for you to say I don't see color, you directly saw color. And when I say that to the Caucasian
Boom.
persuasion, they, they look at me like a deer in headlights because they didn't realize, like, damn, she's right. But it's really true. For you to say I don't see no color, you've already acknowledged there's a difference between me and you. Right.
Sister, sister, look at that damn
Right.
chat. Sister. Boom. Boom. Boom,
Right.
bro.
So you do me
Like,
more of a disservice. And that's what I try to help
exactly.
these woke
Exactly.
Caucasian people try to understand. You do me a disservice by saying that no, you need to acknowledge that race does exist. You need to acknowledge how that has been a component in making this a continued uneven playing field and use your white privilege and your white entitlement to not only re-educate the miseducation of all of y'all, but do something with it. Do something with it. That's what you
Right.
owe me. You don't owe me no apology. I don't care about all that. You need to acknowledge that this did take place, and because I look like I do, I may have some more privileges than you could be privy to. And because of that, I'm gonna do anything in my power to even that playing field. There you go. There
Exactly.
you go. That's
I
how you give my
mean,
reparations. When we in the same workplace, and you know, let me explain this and bring this home. When you can show your reparations, me reparations, when we both in the same workplace, and I didn't train you, but you didn't made $2 or $3 more than me. You can use your white privilege to say, you know what? I appreciate what you're saying, but she actually trained me, and without that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So instead of the $3, let it be $1.50 a piece. I can at least see you trying. I can at least see you trying. I give you credit for
yeah,
that. You see what I'm saying?
I feel you. You know what? You know
So I
what? I
just want to
feel
put
you,
that as an
sister. I
example.
mean, no, that's a good example. That's a great example. I mean, I'm you are so on point right now. And for anybody that might be listening to this, on the replay or whatever, this is how, these are the kind of conversations that you want to have with, what I'm saying, what I'm saying, what I'm saying, your sister out here to try to build something to have an understanding out here. I mean, yeah, me and Keyshawn have a difference of ideas and concepts on things, but there's some things that we would never disagree on, and that's our blackness, right? Knowing where we come from, knowing that we're not a violent people, like we're good people out here. You know what I mean? Like, we are not about all of that, like trifling and manipulation. Like, we get that from them. Like, all that comes from them. All this perversion, all that kind of stuff like that you seeing out here, man, I'm getting a little deep, Keyshawn. I'm getting a little damn deep. I don't know if it's because it's so late or what, but all of these, a lot of what we're seeing out
You make it.
here with, yeah, with like the sexualization of women and stuff like that, it come from them. Like that's not how men like are supposed to be. Like men not supposed to be all up on the, all that like that. That comes from somewhere. And see, it's images, videos, and you know what kind of videos I'm talking about. Like that kind of stuff that seeps into your psyche and that makes you like, feel like, you dominating somebody. It's a little hard to explain, but yeah, it's that's not us. You know what I mean? Like naturally, we love each other, care about each other, want to have a sense of community and things of that nature. But due to what has happened to us over time, now you see what you're seeing out here, and it's really unfortunate. A destruction of the unity that we naturally have. And just like I said earlier, black men and black women know each other more than anybody else do. And for some reason, like there's this huge tension that just comes out of nowhere, and it's not out of nowhere. No, it's been put here on purpose to try to divide and destroy. Because Keyshawn, you know this. With a sister like you, and a brother like me that are, adept to the information, knowledgeable. Do you know how much that we can achieve if we got together and actually work together to try to help, like to try to do something productive? There's a lot. There's a lot that can be done, but it can't just be you and me. It got to be a collective. Like the power is in the numbers. Like it just can't be me and you, Keyshawn. Me and you can, what I'm saying, write letters to congressmen till the cows come home. Like, what I'm saying, call the police departments, do all this bullshit, right? But it's just you and me. It gotta be more than that. But Keyshawn, they don't want to listen to this shit, and it's unfortunate because they more into the damn drama bullshit. They more into the damn drama bullshit.
Well,
You know what? I don't know what you was tapping
well,
on
the
earlier,
beauty
but you
of
keep playing, John. You keep playing. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I appreciate you. Um, and I will say this to you. With my other channel that I'm going to be kind of connecting with this one, it's going to be one of those that one day a week we just can talk about different entertainments and things of that nature because some of the stuff is humorous, right? It is funny. It gives comic relief. It's just the main our main energy, as far as I'm concerned, I want it to be in a positive, for kind of creating a positive environment for us to have these type of discussions where, again, just be respectful, that we can relearn some things that we were miseducated on, and then we can understand that the bottom line of this. And I'm hoping that when I finish with this series, along with the fact that we had domestic terrorism to begin with Paul Revere and Patrick Henry and all those people, because that's what they did, and treason. When we show that again the commonality of all the most heinous crimes that have happened, not just here, but around the world, with the influence of these pale-faced European people that just kind of come and plant themselves and become diabolical and egregious and torture, just pathological because they are primitive, right? It's not as far as I'm concerned, it's not an intelligence on a spiritual level. It's more on a primal, like Captain Caveman, that cartoon, that type of intelligence. And yes, they are off the map when it comes to that type of lower vibrational uh, uh, mechanics and tools that they do. Now, for us, because of who we are, DD, we are a high vibration. It is about love. It is about oneness. It is about understanding that the universe is going to, in a sense, fight our battles for us. right? As long as we continue to focus on ourselves in a loving, healing manner to work on that trauma, because that's what we're seeing now, Dee Dee, the remnants of the centuries of trauma that our people have been enduring on a day-to-day basis. So again, on 2024 and going forward, I'm going to remind us of the strength, the tenacity, the resilience that even though we bickering right now, the way they set this thing up, we shouldn't even be multiplying, let alone uh, um, being as successful as we are right now. With all of the different implants that they put, not just with the way they look, some of us, because you said something about with America in particular listing certain people as domestic terrorists or terrorists. Well, the Black Panthers at one time was listed as a terrorist group, right? Martin Luther King himself was put on the terrorist list. Malcolm X was put on the terrorist list, right? So we want to also be mindful of who they decide to demonize, and Medgar Evers, who they decide to put on that demon that terrorist list, and why. Just again,
Mm,
something to plan on
mm.
as I'm going forward. hmm
Damn, that
So
was
again,
good,
that's
sister.
what
Right there.
the platform.
That's
Again,
what's
just to
up.
think about.
That
Again,
you know
that's
what,
for me what
Keyshawn,
the
that's what's
platform
up,
is really
girl.
about, just sharing different information.
Yeah, that's what's up, Keyshawn. I mean, if you really think about it, and like, we was taught, like, even in these classes, Keyshawn, that I mean, the United States is not innocent. Like, we know they have done some dirt. Like, we have done some real dirty shit. You know what I mean? I mean, it's happened, man. You know what I mean? And you bringing up that point about him being on the terrorist watch list, you have to think about things critically out here. That's what I'm saying. People have to think about things critically. I like to think about things critically. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I really like to talk about, like, the nuances, because actually, you notice the devil is always in the damn details. Like, we can definitely agree on the major, like, facts that everybody should agree on. So let's start a foundation. But then when you start to get into some of the nuances and things of that nature, that's where it goes down at. It goes down in the DMs. You already know it. It goes down. It goes down and down. So what I'm saying is that this is a great conversation, Keyshawn. I mean, I really appreciate having the opportunity to be able to talk to you. It's been a long time, and I'm glad that we were able to connect and have an understanding. And they're two different, not really different. I mean, it's all B1 all together, but two different, like two uh, you know, concepts, two perspectives to think about and ponder. Just ponder and ponder, but at the end of the day, we definitely got to come together and make this shit work. So 2024, like you said, Keyshawn, I'm hoping for the best, trying to do the best that I can out here, you know, um, and I know you will always be because, what I'm saying, you always been authentic and real. So, you know what I mean? I really appreciate that, sister. I know it's getting late. Um, if you don't mind just sticking around a little bit, we're gonna go ahead. I guess if it's okay, we go ahead and end the live and we'll talk a little bit behind the scenes. Is that cool?
I have enjoyed, again, exchanging uh, just different perspectives. And I'm hoping that, you all who listen to the replay, please leave your comments, share, and subscribe. I plan on doing more of this. That is my goal for 2024. And truthfully, having you all's constructive feedback means more to me than you will ever know. I thank you for kind of hanging in there as we kind of went from topic to topic. They were all kind of needed and they kind of tied in together about one sphere because you all the ultimate, the bottom line is they truly fear one us. They fear this type of communication, which is effective, where there's active listening, and it's listening to not only understand, to appreciate, to value. Even if we don't agree on all of the things, we can agree to disagree and still have a mutual respect. That's who we are as melanated people. So if anything that you've taken from just listening to the replay, and those of you that kind of checked in, again, happy 2024. I want you to take that from it and share some things on, in the comments, different topics that you would like for me to speak on going forward, because this is our channel. I wanted to organically grow, and like Dee Dee said, and it humbles me. I try my best to be humble. I try my best to be authentic as possible as I can, and I hope that you would do the same, and I hope that you feel that at any time that there's a misunderstanding of words. There's some clarity with that. I'm in my four agreements. I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to take nothing personal. I know you're going to come to me in truth and love, and I'm going to do my best, the best that I can, to respond in the way that I had meant for it to be. Those words do matter. So again, I appreciate you all's time. And Didi, yes, we're definitely going to kind of recap in the background. But until next time, you all, thank you. Have a wonderful remaining of the day and a wonderful, successful, holistic, abundant 2024. Thank you.
2024. Peace, y'all. Peace. Peace.